the last 8 decades, drag racing has evolved from a backyard hobby into a multi-million-dollar sport. That sport is built on the shoulders of giants, men and women in every aspect who forged the way for generations to come. Tonight, live, for the first time ever, we honor those legends as we introduce the 2022 class of the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Yes, test. Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Joe Costello from WFO Radio and of course part of the National Hot Rod Association track announcing team. We're in town for the 53rd Amarillo Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. And as you know, this, the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction, is one of the major events that we will enjoy this week. I wish to welcome you all, and for the first time ever, we are streaming this event around the world. So thank you so much for attending. We have got a great show for you. Joining me on the stage from Racers for Christ, Chaplain Eddie Boyer is going to lead us in our pre-Hall of Fame invocation. Please, Mr. Boyer, lead the way.
Thank you, Joe. Would you all join me in a prayer, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to be here, to be able to honor these inductees this year from around the world, to be able to come out here and we get to celebrate with them today. We thank you for the food that you provided for us. We thank you for this country that we live in and for the many freedoms that we have. And God, we want to pray for those around the world that are out there fighting for their freedoms right now. We just want to pray that you would be with them. Just watch over us, keep us safe, and help us to have a great time out here and also to have a great weekend of racing out here at the Gator Nationals. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ed. And now, before we get started, a couple of points of importance that I think are something we should recognize. First of all, to our host, Big Daddy Don Garlits, drag racing innovator, someone who recognized the importance of safety, someone who recognized the importance of preserving our history, and someone who recognized the importance of honoring those who gave so much to our sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Garlits. And speaking of those whose contributions to drag racing have been recorded in the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, I would ask all of our Hall of Fame inductees and members to please stand up now. If you are in the Hall of Fame, we ask you to stand up and be recognized in front of this crowd. We want to basically show you our love. Mr. Mike Lewis, of course, Bruce Larson, Laura Earwood. If you are in the Hall of Fame, Roy Hill, Roy, great to see you, Joe Amato, all in attendance. Thank you very much. Mr. Steve Gibbs. Drag racing is what it is today because of the sacrifices of time, money, sometimes flesh of these folks. Thank you very much for what you've done. Tonight we're going to meet some of the innovators. We're going to meet the people who helped deliver the sport of drag racing to the level it is now, not just in this country, but around the world. And the man who is going to guide us through and teach us a little bit about the contributions of our inductees is the man himself, Mr. Big Daddy Don Garlits. Through video and, of course, elements, you'll meet our inductees and the inductors who helped them learn the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the first video, Mr. Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Great. Now there's a name that probably doesn't ring any bells in your ears, but But I'll tell you what, if you were in England and you were at Santa Pod, you knew who we were talking about. He was the starter there for years and years. He did so much for the pioneering of drag racing in England, and we are the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, so it's very fitting that we put Stu Bradbury in there. This is an English champion. This is a gasser car from back in the day, and Stu Bradbury must have started this car hundreds of times at Santa Pod. And an interesting side note is, Swamp Rat 21, 1976, I went to England, some exhibition runs, and Stu Bradbury is the starter when I set the British land speed record at 232 miles an hour. Welcome Stu Bradbury into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Now to induct Stu Bradbury, coming to the stage all the way in from the United Kingdom, Mr. Robin Jackson and of course Ron Hope. Robin, join us on stage.
To date, just 4 individuals have been honoured with membership of both British and international drag racing halls of fame. Sidney Allard, known as the father of British drag racing, who worked with Wally Parks to bring some of America's leading stars to race in England in 1964 and 65. Carl Olsen, founding president of the FIA Drag Racing Commission. Don Garlits, the biggest star on that tour to England in 1964, who I believe has enjoyed further success in drag racing since then. Dennis Priddle, British top fuel and funny car pioneer of the 1970s and 80s. Now, there is a 5th. Stewart Bradbury, Stu to everyone who knew and loved him, served as chief starter at Santa Pod Raceway from the late 1960s to the late 1980s, was involved in another track for a short while after that, and then in 2005 became the founding chairman of the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame, a role he maintained until his death in 2020, following an intense, brave, 10-year battle with cancer. In that time, and never letting his illness distract him, he played genial host to numerous legendary American figures who joined us at our annual Hall of Fame banquets to help us celebrate our British version of the sport. Big Daddy was the first. Waterbed Fred, Dale Emery, Bruce Larson, Bob Moraves, and Floyd Lippincott Jr. Now there's a coincidence, they both turned up at the same time. Don Schumacher, Connie Coletta, Ed the Ace, Steve Gibbs, Iski, Eileen Daniels, Harry Hibbler, Roland Leong, Marvin Graham, Dan Richins, Clay Millican, Doug Herbert, not at the same time, Tom Hoover, Rich Guasco, Gentleman Joe Schubeck were just some of those who followed. Stu became a drag racing nut by accident. One day in the mid-60s, he'd gone along to play drums in a beat combo, booked to liven up a garden fete in the grounds of an English stately home. There he came across a small band of car enthusiasts showing off their American-style hot rods, a quite un-British sight at such a time and in such surroundings. Intrigued, he chatted with the group, an innocent first step into a realm that would come to dominate the rest of his life. From that contact, Stu was introduced to the business group working to transform an airfield, located by pure chance just 10 miles from his hometown, into Europe's first permanent drag strip. Santa Pod Raceway opened in 1966, and young Stu was handed the job of crowd controller, then in 67, deputy starter, then in 68, chief starter. Over the next 20 years, he started anyone and everyone who came to race at the track, from occasional weekend warriors to stars of the sport from both sides of the Atlantic, and sometimes beyond. When Don Schumacher and Paula Murphy brought the first full-tilt American funny cars to Santa Pod in 1973, It was Stew's start line from which they launched. When Big Daddy packed the place out in 76 and 77, it was Stew who flicked the switch. Beadle, Snake, Hoover, Sagrini, Harlan Thompson, Darrell Gwynn all took the green light from him. He once shut off Tony Nancy and stood his ground when the furious Nancy burst out of the cockpit to debate the matter. On an NHRA visit one year, he manned the start line alongside Buster Couch, an experience he was proud to remember. The drag racing connection also came into play for Stew's day job. He spent most of his working life as a sales specialist for two leading importers of American car parts into Britain, first John Wolfe Racing, then US Automotive. To walk the pits with Stew in his later years was an exercise in slow-motion standing around, because everyone who saw him wanted to stop and talk about old times, new times. So many people, so many conversations. Who was that, you'd ask? I've no idea, he'd often say. Face rang a bell, but I really can't remember. But they all remembered him. Stew was inducted into his own British Hall of Fame in 2017 by an act of subterfuge, contravening the ironclad rule he himself had imposed, banning anyone involved in the management from being eligible for membership. The directors, members, and international ambassadors secretly decided to change the rule in this single, so deserving case, and we sprang it on him one afternoon in the middle of a race. I announced the presentation myself. Stuart Bradbury, whether you like it or not, you are now a member of the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame. First, shock and surprise. Then, Stew accepted it with good grace, but I don't think he was ever truly convinced he merited it. But if he'd ever imagined he would one day be inducted into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, he would have been thrilled, tickled pink, well chuffed, properly made up, as we sometimes say. It's so sad that Stew can't be here to partake of the moment himself, but if he's looking down now, he'll be pleased to see his wife, Bev, daughter Jenna, and Jenna's fiancé, James, make their way up to the stage to accept his membership. First, to make the presentation, we're delighted to welcome a great friend of Stew's and a great friend to our Hall of Fame and to the British drag racing scene, Mr. Rat Trap himself, Ron Hope.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I will try not to say anything that would take from Robin's very great introduction to Stuart Bradbury. Stuart I first met in 2002 while he was at US Automotive. He had left Santa Pod by that time and was working there in US Automotive. US Automotive is a supplier of American parts for vintage cars. And met Stewart, we struck up a friendship, and it lasted for many, many years. He was a great historian, if you will, on the British drag racing scene, and did a fantastic job of bringing together the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame. I was honored a few years ago with being named actually a director of the Hall of Fame, and so I'm quite pleased with that. I wrote some remarks, however, I've kind of deviated from them. I will say that I was invited to the first British Drag Racing Hall of Fame at the Seville Hotel many years ago, and have attended every one of their Hall of Fame dinners ever since. But let me read this a little bit here. There are many experiences and thoughts I could offer regarding Stewart Bradbury. But in the interest of time, I must defer to the presentation for which we are gathered here tonight. As with all great men, they are supported by equally great women. To accept the nomination and award for the Hall of Fame is his lovely wife, Bev. Bev, if you can join us.
Well, good evening all. Well, to say we are overwhelmed to be here to accept this amazing award for Stu is an understatement. We were completely bowled over when informed by yours truly, Big Daddy, that Stu was going to be inducted into your Hall of Fame, an incredible accolade, and thank you so, so much. We are just so very sad that he is not here to accept it. He would have been so very proud and honoured. Stu forged a great relationship between our Hall of Fame and your Hall of Fame when inducting you, Big Daddy, into ours in 2014. And we have very fond memories of your trips to us in the UK to attend our induction gala in 2014, and also when you came over for Goodwood in 2015. Stu, Jenna and I also had the pleasure of coming over to Florida in March 2015 to attend your gala presentations and to go to the Gator Nationals, an amazing trip and great memories. I really don't know what else to say in fear of my emotions running away with me, but again, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and also from all his family, friends and associates in the UK. Thank you.
Right here in Gainesville, Florida, lots of legends, including a wild man with a mohawk, Scotty Cannon. But first, big thanks to our table sponsors. Those of you out there in the crowd, we appreciate you. Like Summit Racing since 2002. That's 20 years, guys. Even I can do that math. Thank you, Summit. We appreciate you. And Roy Hill's Drag Racing School. Since 2004, 18 years supporting the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. They are our glass sponsor as well. You're going to love that at the end of the night. Thank you, Summit. Thank you, Roy Hill, a Hall of Famer himself. We appreciate you. And one more table sponsor, of course, the National Hot Rod Association. Thank you, NHRA. The Amarillo Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals here in town this weekend. A major crown jewel event, and we appreciate you being involved with the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to the Hilton in Gainesville, Florida for the 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Mobile Environmental Solutions is the leading provider of mobile paint booths manufactured in the U.S. with its exclusive airflow system and 360 degrees of natural lighting. With a booth size to fit the needs of any industry in just minutes, it's an honor for our booths to be used by the United States Armed Forces, U.S. manufacturing facilities, used car reconditioning centers, and more. Mobile Environmental Solutions, the leading portable mobile paint booth.
Topless cheap fun in less than 2 minutes with Top Lift Pros. No other hardtop removal tool on the market is as reliable, simple, or safe to use to remove your Jeep or Bronco 6th Gen hardtop as Top Lift Pros. Single operator, no hassle, and no loss of floor space in your carport or garage. Live outside the box with Top Lift Pros, the ultimate hardtop removal and storage solution.
It is a star-studded affair here at the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Check it out. We got Jimmy Prock. Jimmy, you have won the first 2 races of the 2022 season. You're out here, Hall of Fame and the family. Tell me about this night.
This is an awesome night. You know, to come out here. I grew up around drag racing. I started with my dad when I was 11 years old, and all these people that are here, it's nice to show them respect for, you know, they paved the way for all of us today. And I'm a good friend of Tim Richards. I've raced with Joe Amato, and I just have the utmost respect for all these people that paved the way for us and taught us. And, you know, I learned a lot. You know, being around all these great people helped me get to where I am today.
Jimmy, good luck this weekend. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
The International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. It is amazing. And now we're going to kick it back up to the legend, Big Daddy, to find out our next inductee.
Scotty Cannon, Pro Mod fame. That's our next inductee. And this was his favorite brand, the Willis. He took these little cars and he turned them into Pro Mods. There was two ways they could do it. You could either be blown alcohol or unblown nitrous oxide. And there was always a big controversy in the Pro Mod ranks. One side always said the other side had an advantage. So one year Scotty has the blower with alcohol and he wins the championship. And the next year he has the nitrous oxide and he wins the championship. He said, I can beat you either way. Scotty Cannon's most popular car had Killer Red Mater written on the side of it, and he did win a lot of races with it. 4 or 5 years, he dominated Pro Mod. And it was a class that was really liked by a lot of people because it was a car that they could relate to, an old type car, but it went really fast and made a lot of noise. And of course, they blew up every once in a while. So welcome Scotty Cannon into the 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
And now to induct the man with the mohawk, Mr. Pro Modified himself. He's from CompetitionPlus.com. He is the editor, Mr. Bobby Bennett. Please come to the stage.
About 10 seconds in, you're going to be wondering, what in the hell have I done getting him to induct, to present me? It's kind of sort of like that time you dared to hang Dominic to put 100 pounds on your combination. How'd that work out for you? Not too good. So let me tell you about the guy who fired me on my birthday. Then had to hire me back because he realized I knew where all the bodies were buried, because I helped him bury them. Let me tell you about the guy who, as a naive teenager, took the breather off of his stepmom's rusted Ford LTD because his friends had convinced him that the moaning sound it made was pure horsepower. This is a good one. Trust me, I wrote these down over the years because I never knew when I would get a chance to use them. Let me tell you about the guy who went to the drag strip and saw everyone with the word deep on the windows of their race car, and he put it on his race car just because he wanted to fit in. Sort of like John Force with the CB antennas and no CB in his truck. Finally, one of his fellow racers eventually asked him, "Why didn't you deep stage?" To which Scotty replied, "So that's what that means." Once he deep staged, he won 6 consecutive rounds and won his first ever points race. That's pretty good. Let me tell you about the guy who, after winning his first Pro Modified World Championship in 1991 with a nitrous car, called the IHRA Tech Department and specifically asked them, "What is a funny car body?" Then got the official to explain what one is, and then he asked, "Well, what if I cut doors out of it? Would it still be a funny car?" No. What if I cut a hood out of it and a deck lid out of it? Would it still be a funny car? No. Are you stupid? Do you not realize what a funny car body is? Scotty said, "Put it in writing." One thing about that guy is if he ever asked you to put it in writing, you can rest assured, and one of my friends said that, if he tells you a rooster can lay an egg, you better have a pan ready, because Guess who showed up at the next race with an Oldsmobile funny car with the doors, the hood, and deck lid cut out of it, and proceeded to kick the living crap out of all of his competition all season long until they banned his car at the end of the season. This is a look. He's from Greer, South Carolina. Let me introduce you to the guy who threw a Christmas fight and a party broke out. Or was that a Christmas party and a fight broke out? It was so bad that a dude in the band got punched out in the middle of playing Freebird. This is an absolute true story at the 1998 IHRA Southern Nationals. Let me tell you about the guy who, when his opponent had started the burnout, Scotty was a no-show. Apparently, somebody on the crew had put the rotors in the supercharger backwards. So they put another blower on the car, and as they were putting the car together, Scotty fired the car from the pits, drove it through the pits, through the staging lanes. Mind you this, his opponent had already done his burnout. And Scotty does his burnout, pulls up beside him to say, "It's me again, Margaret." And he won the race. And let me introduce you to the guy who, with a little help, single-handedly destroyed a CarQuest hospitality tent, chasing a fella to whoop him because he had it coming for a couple of years. The guy did prank him. Thank gosh there was no internet and competitionplus.com back then. But let me also tell you about the guy who had every excuse to fail in life. He was a high school dropout. He had to quit school to go to work at 16 because he was a teenage father who raced and won with 25% of the sponsorship of his competition, who endured years of cheating accusations from fellow racers who raced once, maybe twice a month, while he raced 3 to 4 times a week, doing match races on every podunk track from here to Alabama, who one time set the world record 3 times in a weekend after only being penalized the week before, 50 pounds. Let me tell you about the racer who remained the winningest driver in Pro Modified division a decade after he left the class, and the series failed to field professional drag racing. We've had a few laughs at his expense, and I tried to tell the great people here at the Pat Garlits Hall of Fame that Scotty Cannon is a square peg in a round hole kind of fella. I think you're seeing I wasn't BSing you right now. If there ever was a driver that deserved to be enshrined as the first one in his class for this prestigious Hall of Fame, it's that guy, Scotty Cannon. He was a racer to the 1000th degree, and he might have been bad to the bone through and through, but no one loved the racing fans more than that guy did, and they loved him too. He could be in the middle of a thrash, and he would stop what he was doing and sign an autograph for a child. Kids wanted to grow up and be just like him. Right, Stevie Fast? He might not have had enough hair on his head today to kind of rustle up a good mohawk, but he's got every bit of the good heart that earned him a spot on this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, 6-time Pro Modified World Champion and the greatest of all time when it comes to fast door slammer racing, Scotty Cannon.
Do something like that. I don't know how you plan for this one. You can't. I don't know. Drove up down the road, laid in the bed, done a lot of things thinking about how to win my next race. Then had to win those, winning more. And it happened. I won a championship. God blessed me with more. I never one time ever wished I'd do this, just when I think life is not being exactly fair to you. Don Garlits shows up again in the Hall of Fame. Who would have ever thought, man, it's just great. First off, I'd like to thank the good Lord. He knows everything about me, trust me. I had no idea. I just had no idea I'd make it, but I always said a prayer. I don't think I've ever went down a racetrack, well, I know I haven't, without saying my little ritual. It's not asking him to let me win. It's pretty simple. I don't know if you, I think my crew knew about it. I know Boyce did. I always said, let me be safe. Something happened to me, take care of my family. And he did that. I'd like to thank Don Garlits for just being the man. When he called me to present me with this award, I was actually fishing. And I used to do PR work with him when I first got my start with IHRA. Him and Shirley Muldowney, ride around all day, do TV and radio. Just had a big old time. Never thought one day I'd be standing up here and this guy would be calling me. I got a fish on, and I got my phone. I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, no, and I hung it up. I said, oh, my God, that was Don Garlits. Somehow I had him in my phone in contacts, and we didn't have cell phones back then. But I had him in there, so I called him back. And you know what he said? You'll never believe it. He said, well, just call me back tomorrow. He said, if you're fishing, that's more important. He said, just want to know you're in the Hall of Fame. I said, hold on a minute. I said, no, you hold on. I said, I'll put the rods down. You know, he insisted that I fish. I'm like, I can't even hardly speak. I was more nervous then than I am now. But that was great. And I tell people that, and people say, well, how did you, I'm trying to find my glasses because I can't see nothing. There you are. But anyway, that's a true story, and that happened. I'd like to thank NHRA for making awards like this happen, and it lets us know after we put all the hard work that we put into that, and when you think that, you know, we don't have retirement or anything built in when you're a race car driver. I mean, maybe some Social Security coming, that's about it, and no 401k either. But, you know, when you quit driving and you as a driver, there's not a whole bunch you can do but sit around and play with the grandkids and your children and enjoy life, and you kind of get bored a little bit. And I did all those things, even feeling sorry for myself. But it couldn't be no better like it always was. It's like drag racing waits till you win before you feel what really happens to you. And this is like winning all over again. And I'd like to thank all my sponsors over the years. There's just so many of them, it's just hard to mention them all. I bore y'all all to death. I'd like to thank Eagle Racing Engines and their family for taking me in under their wing when I was just a snotty-nosed kid trying to put an engine together at night. They would actually take my motors home with them and put the things together and make it all happen. So my hat's off to Eagle Racing Engines and their family. They were just like a family to me and still are to this day. I'd like to thank all my fans. If it wasn't for you guys, I couldn't have, and selling all those T-shirts and hats back in the day before we even had sponsors. I couldn't make it. You know, it's been a rocky road, but it's been the wonderfulest ride you have ever been on. I'd like to thank all my family for backing me and supporting me. They always have. I'd like to thank my wife, Amanda, for standing behind me. My first wife stood behind me a little bit, but she finally got tired and got off the wagon. And my second wife, she's done real good. She's still, she and by the way, me and my first wife still good friends now. It's all great. Sheep are that way. You know, life plays tricks on you think, or things go one way or go another. And me and my brother, we were real close growing up. And you grow apart. He raised a family. I raised a family. We live in kind of the same hometown, real close. You know, you go months, sometime years. You don't talk a whole bunch. You say, hey, love you, bye. And I just, to help fill the void I got, I work on his race car now. I actually crew chief it, if you call it that. If I tell him something, he don't know if it's right or wrong, so I'm always right. That's perfect. I'd like to thank my brother Doug. It means a lot to me. Trust me. I'd like to thank his fiancée Jackie and all my friends for coming out. I'd like to thank my sisters Cindy, Debbie, And Tanya we no longer have with us. We lost her in cancer about 2 or 3 years ago. I'd like to thank Mike Ward, being the friend he is now. He's a great guy. All these guys are at my table. I'd like to thank Torch. Everybody has to know Torch. I mean, who don't know Torch, right? He's actually here with me now, and he introduced me to the big Oakley guy. Big break in life, trust me when I tell you. Lord mercy. I'd like to thank just one more cat over there. I was asked a question one day. He said, you like that? You like old Stevie? I said, Stevie who? He said, Stevie Fast. I know who they're talking about. I watch him all the time. I watch the small kids, right? And he don't take no junk, and I love every minute of it. And I said, yeah. I said, I ain't no hater. I love people. I said, you can't hate what he does. Oh, we like him. We like him. Come to find out, I don't think they really liked you, Stevie. But they did. But anyway, I got these guys. I'm real honored to have him here. And they say he reminds everybody of me back in my day. I think he's got me beat, though, to be honest with you, because he talks more junk than anybody I've ever seen. I'd like to say special thanks to all my guys that worked on my car over the years. I know I'm not the easiest guy, probably the hardest guy in the world to ever work for. And especially, I got 2 or 3 names here I just want to really, really thank a lot. One of them is my son, Scott Cannon Jr. He put up with me a lot. And I'm proud of all these guys. Phil Schuler, he's at my table tonight. He was one of my pups, I call it. I don't think he really likes to be called a pup, but he's one of my dogs anyway. I don't care what nobody says. Daryl Makins was a big part. They just did it when I didn't have no money, didn't have anything to do. And last but not least on the thank you list, I'd like to thank Boyce Boswell. He'll make me cry. A lot of y'all probably know him as the tobacco guy. He chewed tobacco. He always backed me up in my car. He went with me in the funny car, which God knows I didn't shine too good there, but I was trying. I don't know if I'd ever won the first race if it hadn't been for that guy, and he knew nothing. And he never went to a racetrack without me, a drag race. And he said, when I quit, he quit. And when I quit, he ain't been back, maybe to a little Greer track. And I got a few friends that's passed over the years, and I got to mention those guys, and I'm fixing to wind this thing up. So just have a little patience with me here. I usually don't do all this whimpering stuff. But Bubba Rogers was a real good friend of mine. I lost him a couple years ago. Damien, 5'0", he used to drive the rig for Barry Grant that drove the Pro Stock car. I think he actually married his wife, too. And I'd like to thank Bill Barrett. Some of the tuners probably know him. I don't know if anybody else knows him, but he's the one come up to me years ago and said, you need a blower in that car. And I said, I don't even know how to start it. I took an injector hat and put a carburetor on the top to start it. And when he got to my house, everything was ready to start. He said, what is that junk on top of that hat? I said, well, me and Fulton put that. That's when I was with Gene Fulton. We put the carburetor on there to start it with. That thing makes a lot of noise. He said, well, if you're that big you don't need to be in one of these things. I said, well, they make a lot of noise. So Boyce was in the car during the warm-up, and I actually stood outside the car, believe it or not. That's how big a candy I was. I didn't sit in the car when he cranked up my first blower car. But other than that, if I've left anybody out, I apologize, and I'm sorry for taking up any of y'all's time. But trust me, I'm riding a dream right now, and life couldn't have been no better to me, and God only knows what it brings in the future. But thanks, everybody, and for bearing with me. And thank God.
Coming up here at the 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Jack Yule and many more. But first, big thanks to first-year cable sponsor, Wins. Welcome to Wins. So many years on the side of so many legendary drag racing cars. It's only fitting that you be here supporting a table at Big Daddy's International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And of course, Pat and Jerry Baldus. Been around since 1993. You guys are the backbone of this ceremony. Thank you so much. 29 years. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support. We'll be back with more from the Hilton in Gainesville, Florida at the 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
When your child wants to learn how to drag race, go to the most trusted instructor in the sport, Roy Hill. At Roy's Junior Dragster Camps, your child will learn proper procedure for staging, racing, how to avoid breaking out, how to get a winning reaction time, and the most important thing Roy teaches?
At my junior drag race camp, you learn everything that's needed about safety.
Call now or go online to view the next scheduled school.
When you leave my camp, you'll have your license to go out and race.
Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products, keeping you in front of your field and performing at maximum potential. At Rod End Supply, we have the unique opportunity to be involved with auto racing, performance industries, and farm equipment. So whether it's a go-kart, micro, mini sprint, midget, modified, late model sprint, or a tractor, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products for you. Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them.
We're going to keep on moving here, folks. Great job by Scotty Cannon. Couple of things. Thanks to Roy Hill for being the Scotch Glass sponsor once again. Everybody, after this is all over, you'll go next door to the Hawthorne Room and exchange your ticket for a very nice International Drag Racing Hall of Fame Scotch Glass where you can put anything you want in it. Actually, that's what I do. That happens next door. Also, we've got great t-shirts that are available as well to commemorate this evening. It is going to be great. Again, after it's all over, outside the door to the right, the Hawthorne Room, and you'll be great. Also, big round of applause for our trophy and ring presenter, Mr. Rick Green from Summit. Rick, thank you very much. Drag Race Central is Rick's website, and if anybody who has ever tried to get instant results, this guy is in the tower, punching a keyboard, making it all happen. Rick, on behalf of Summit, is presenting all of our trophies and rings this evening. All right, it is time to go back to Mr. Big Daddy Don Garlits to find out our next Hall of Fame inductee.
Our next inductee is Jack Yule. I met Jack in 1958. They came back from California with the 3 fastest cars they could line up in California to race me at Houston, Texas with Swamp Rat 1. Jack was driving a car just like this, Hemi engine, injected, 100% nitro, and he was the fastest of the California cars that day. I won the race, but Jack was a formidable competitor. But Jack goes back a lot before then. In 1949, when they opened Santa Ana, and I'll tell you, drag racing was crude in those days. Guys like Dick Kraft were there with just the bodies off of roadsters. They called them dragsters. And Jack was a competitor in those days, 1949. And he was a competitor all the way into the 80s. And he drove a lot of cars. And what a lot of people don't know, for a short period of time, about 5 years, every time I would go to California, Jack would help me and would be crew chief for me. This is an unusual situation. A guy that was a fierce competitor in the early days becomes your friend and helps you win races. They called him the Silver Fox. He was so cool. Everybody liked him. He's gone now, and we all miss him, but we welcome him into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Jack Yule, a true pioneer.
And your host, Mr. Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Thank you very much. Jack Yule was one of the true pioneers of drag racing, and to put it in the proper perspective, he was at the Dry Lakes setting his first record 105 miles an hour in 1949. And I was just a 17-year-old kid looking for my first car that I would own. And that's how far ahead he was. 1961, at age 33, he became the first outside employee to work for Mickey Thompson. And this was really this was a great job. He worked in the sales, and he moved up to become the sales manager of Mickey Thompson. And by doing that, he became really involved in the building of cars and engines. He got associated with lots of different kinds of parts and combinations, and he really learned a lot. But I remember him when I was just a youngster with my first dragster, and the Drag News was the paper that had all the California stories in it. It was always Jack Yule at the wheel of one of his fuel dragsters, And they did bring that car back to Texas in 1958. I remember it was really a pretty car, had a full aluminum body on it covering the engine, injectors, running 100% nitro. And he was the fastest of the 3 cars that they brought from California in June of 1958. And he was a very intense driver. I mean, he was really one of those kind of guys. When he got in the car, that's all he saw was the car, and that was what made him really good. He started his racing in 1950. He was the first dragster drivers in drag racing to race at Santa Ana when it opened in 1950. And he did win the first top eliminator trophy with a fuel-powered flathead engine in a passenger car type body, but he won the top eliminator, the first top eliminator at Santa Ana. That's really saying something, because that's that's really the big drag strip, the first drag strip in the country. He also he had an Arden Merc. A lot of people don't even know what an Arden is, but that's an overhead valve conversion kit for a flathead Ford. It turns a flathead Ford from a 100-horse engine into about 175 horse. And Jack had one of his own personal engines, and they installed that in the Bean Bandit car, and he became one of the first members of the 140-mile-an-hour club in the quarter mile. And that all took place in California. He drove the Yule Sticker A-Fuel dragster many years. That belonged to Jim Cambor, and that's the car that they brought back to Texas. And he also drove the Yule Kegel Cambor car. He 61, he went to Bonneville, and he was put in the 200-mile-an-hour club, another tough job. Back in those days, 200 miles an hour at Bonneville was quite a feat. He went one way, 217 miles an hour, and he averaged 212 both ways for the record, and that put him in the club. And it wouldn't be until 1989 that I got in that 200-mile-an-hour club. He had the misfortune to break a leg in 1968, and then they got him out of the driver's seat. And that particular car, Carl Olsen took over the driving, and that car hangs in the SEMA offices on the wall. He was a great guy, and for many years, when I would go to California, he would come and work on the team. And he was the Silver Fox, and he got that name because he was prematurely gray. And it was John Lundberg, the voice of drag racing, that hung that name on him, kind of like Bernie Partridge put Big Daddy on me, and it stuck. And we always called him the Silver Fox. He was a very likable guy, very knowledgeable, and very quiet. And it was really a pleasure to work with him in drag racing. And I just loved it in California to spend time with him. And, you know, to me, because he was one of my heroes. He was older than me, and I always looked up to what he did, and you don't know what a great feeling that is, to be able to work with someone like that you've always honored and had great respect for, and really get to know the man. He was a great guy, and he's gone now, and of course we all miss him. And I was really pleased when I looked at the ballots and the selectors had chosen him for the Hall of Fame. He was like it was forgotten, you know, and just one of those names that kind of slipped through the cracks until we got to looking around and seeing just what he had done. He's a great guy. And here to accept the trophy, the honors, is his son, Jack Yule. Jack Yule, would you come up, please? While he's coming up, I'd just like to say he also was very, very interested in safety. And he was always at the forefront of innovations for safety in drag racing to keep people from getting hurt in these dragsters. Because back in those days, they were a little bit more dangerous than they are today. And here is his son.
be here today. Very special thanks to Mr. Don Garlits and all the pioneers that I'm privileged to be able to sit out here and break bread with tonight. My dad would never have dreamed that he would ever be inducted into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. He did it just for the love of the sport, and like Mr. Garlits said, back in those days, I'm not sure that I would ride in one of those cars going 10 miles an hour, let alone what they were doing. Safety was a whole lot different in those days, and he'd be amazed to see what the sport's turned into today and the technology and the way things have evolved. So again, thank you very much, Mr. Garlits. Appreciate it.
With many more drag racing icons to come, including Jack Moss. But first, big thanks to our table sponsors like TAC Enterprises, who has been with us for 20 years. Thank you so much, folks from TAC Enterprises, and Joe Amato Properties. Since 2002, another 20-year sponsor. We'll hear a little more from Joe coming up in a little bit. And Donovan, 18 years. Thank you so much. Since 2004, table sponsor. We appreciate you. The 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony rolls on. More to come. Stick around.
Mobile Environmental Solutions is the leading provider of mobile paint booths manufactured in the U.S. with its exclusive airflow system and 360 degrees of natural lighting. With a booth size to fit the needs of any industry in just minutes, it's an honor for our booths to be used by the United States Armed Forces, U.S. manufacturing facilities, used car reconditioning centers, and more. Mobile Environmental Solutions, the leading portable mobile paint booth.
Masters Entertainment Group is now offering live event streaming. Masters Entertainment Group's live streaming division can cover your event with a professional and experienced crew to give your event wide coverage. Basketball, drag racing, football, slot car racing, and everything in between. Masters Entertainment Group will have your event streaming worldwide at the push of a button. Don't miss out. Contact Masters Entertainment Group today.
And now let's please take a moment to pay our respects to those who are no longer with us. Rex Piermain, Dennis Priddle, John Tarzan Austin, Eileen Daniels, Danny Ungaius, and to all of those drag racing pioneers who we have lost over the last year, we thank you. Back out here in the crowd with another legend, Shirley Muldowney. Shirley, so great to see you once again, to see all these inductees. You, of course, inducted yourself. It's got to be very special. How's your night so far?
I'm loving this. It's great. I see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Now, after it's all over, we've got something very special. The live stream folks might not get to see it, and there's a reason we want you to come and be a part of it, be a sponsor in the future. They're going to get to see Garlits versus Muldowney one more time.
Wow. I'd pay to see that myself.
Are you going to take him down?
Sure.
All right. That's a teaser for after it's all over. Let's find out from Big Daddy about our next inductee.
Our next inductee is Jack Moss. Now that is truly a name out of the past. I remember Jack Moss, read about him in Hot Rod magazine. When I was just a kid, I used to follow everything he did because he really liked these little Dodge Hemis, these little 241 cubic inch Hemis. That was his engine of choice. He always run gasoline, so when NHRA banned nitromethane, it was perfect. He was the gayest guy and he stayed with the NHRA. I only actually saw him race one time in my whole career, and that was real early, 1958, Wichita Falls, Texas. And he was there with this Gaius dragster, and I was there with my fuel dragster, and I actually got to meet him and talk to him. It was a real thrill because he was an older man. He actually fought in World War II. Anyway, he is well deserving. He's one of the pioneers of our sport. He's one of the few guys that got regular pictures in Hot Rod magazine for winning different events in Texas. And it is an honor to have Jack Moss in the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame for 2022.
And now join me in welcoming to induct Mr. Jack Moss. He is the Senior Vice President of Don Schumacher Racing. He is a Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Mike Lewis.
This is a humbling induction. It's an induction that's appropriate for the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, but would be just as appropriate in the halls of Congress. Jack Moss of Amarillo, Texas, was born in 1923. At age 17, he joined the Texas National Guard, not knowing that within a year, Pearl Harbor would be attacked and he would go to active status and be transferred to the Pacific. He was part of the Texas Battalion of National Guard, and they were surrounded and captured by the Japanese. He spent 42 months serving in what became the Texas Death Battalion. 57% of the Texas Battalion didn't survive captivity. Jack did. And he brought home a spirit and a commitment to live life to the fullest. He learned about servicing equipment in the military and put that trade to work. He opened Jack Moss Automotive in Amarillo, and he didn't know much about racing, but when he started, he would tune customer cars, and then found out that some of these customers were going to Texas Speedway in Amarillo and winning trophies. So he built his own race cars, first at Bonneville, and then sprint cars, midgets, dirt modifieds. He really enjoyed racing. And as Don mentioned, he started building dragsters. His first had a blown Chevy engine, several with Hemi engines, and then the one that's the most unique had two upright side-by-side blown Chevys. And he took that one to the Nationals in Kansas and was runner-up in his class to Calvin Rice. He raced all kinds of cars, including he took a liking to the Ford Thunderbolts, and then the factory experimental class, raced a couple of Ford Galaxies, and then took up enduro racing. Kind of did his career backwards. Went motorcycle racing, and he won 3 Texas state championships, the last in 1982 at age 60. He closed his shop, retiring in 1978, but was pretty quickly hired by Amarillo College to run their automotive program. He was honored for all of his achievements at the National Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green. That's 10 years ago. He left us in 2016, but he lived up to his plan to live life to the fullest. Sorry, Joe. It's indeed an honor to induct a great American, Jack Donald Moss, to the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Jack's family which by now includes, I think I read, 12 great-grandchildren and 5 great-great-grandchildren. So the 5 generations surviving have sent a message through his daughter, Sandy Moss Hannah, who had intended to be here and unfortunately was unable to make it. She writes, "Members of the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, it is my sincere honor to accept induction into the Hall of Fame for my deceased father, Jack Donald Moss. I am sorry that he could not be here to have accepted this honor in person. He would have been deeply honored to stand here and accept, and thanks you all for considering him among all the other worthy candidates. He thoroughly enjoyed all aspects of drag racing. He had a wonderful career both on and off the track. Many thanks go to the friends and partners along the way, and this award goes to all of them. Once again, thank you for bestowing this high honor to my dad." And that's from Sandy Moss Hannah. Thank you all very much.
We've got more to come from the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame ceremony. Tim Richards will be inducted by someone who benefited greatly from his talents. Stick around, but first, more table sponsors. Thank you to Rockingham Dragway. 18 years. You guys have done such a great job. Steve, thank you so much. And Hankstafers, since 2019, Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us here this evening. And John Force Racing, 2002, John Force Racing, 20 years of sponsorship here at the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Thank you. More to come, live from Gainesville.
Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products, keeping you in front of your field and performing at maximum potential. At Rod End Supply, we have the unique opportunity to be involved with auto racing, performance industries, and farm equipment. So whether it's a go-kart, micro, mini sprint, midget, modified, late model sprint, or a tractor, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products for you. Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them.
We're at the Chip Lofton table, and we've got our Lucas Oil Winter Nationals winner, Justin Ashley, hanging out. Stars of the past, stars of current, battling it out here. Justin, the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, watching these legends be inducted, does it make you want to go out there and keep this career going? Maybe one day you will be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look around this room, and it's amazing to see all the different individuals and teams here and how they helped grow the sport of NHRA drag racing, and it's really an honor just to share this room with them tonight.
And the whole transfer from generation to generation, to have Garlits up there, to have Shirley up there, and to have you, Austin Prock is right over there. You guys raced each other in the final round.
Yeah, we did. It's fantastic. It really is great to have Austin here tonight with me. This is just fantastic. It's about passing the history of NHRA drag racing on from generation to generation, and we hope that we can continue pushing that narrative forward.
And somebody who makes it possible for so many people, Mr. Chip Lofton. Chip, you are on the side of so many race cars. Just want everybody to get to know you. Had a health issue or two. You're back at the track. So happy to see you. And this is your kind of environment. You're here every year.
Well, I love it. It's been my dream all my years, and to be able to do it at the tail end of my life, I'm really excited and living the dream with these people.
Well, thank you for what you do. And now it's time to find out about our next inductee from Big Daddy.
This is Joe Amato's car. This was one tough guy. This car was the first car over 260 miles an hour in NHRA competition, and then later first over 280. Now, we all know in top fuel racing, it takes a really smart crew chief to send these cars down the drag strip. those kind of speeds and stay together. And that man for Joe Amato was Tim Richards. In my personal opinion, he was just so smart about the wings and the fuel mixtures. I'll never forget, I went 299 miles an hour at Englishtown, and I had the plugs out, and a couple of them was fuzzed a little bit. And Tim Richards come over and looked at my plugs, and I said, I got to fatten those cylinders up just a little. He said, no, he says, that's part of the combination. We need all of them fuzzed, and then you'll run 300. And sure enough, he was right. He was just so smart about things and meticulous. And you know, he was the type of guy, you looked at him, you didn't think he was like that. He just looked like a normal, ordinary guy. But up here, oh boy, I tell you, if I had raced and had to pick a crew chief, that'd be the guy back then. Tim Richards, welcome to the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming a 5-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion. He broke 260 right here in Gainesville. He broke 280, Mr. Joe Amato.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Don Garlits for providing this venue for everybody to be honored. I mean, and have that great museum over there. He really perpetuates the sport. And I think he's the man. When I was really young, I remember seeing him. I went to Island Dragway, and I was like 20, and he was racing down there. And I think something happened to his car, and he ran over the railroad tracks at the end, and he crashed. But he didn't die or anything, but he's still here. But, I mean, I'll never forget that. But I said, I'm a 20-year-old kid racing a 57 Pontiac or something at the local tracks, and I said, I want to do that someday. So he was my motivation to go out there, and I was lucky enough to be able to race against him and even beat him a few times, even though he's always had respect. He always thought I had too much money, maybe, I think. Him and Don Perdome used to say, you don't really have a real job because you race, but you don't race because you have a job home. And I said, that's how I get the money to race. But, you know, being here to honor Tim Richards is really special for me. I mean, we started out, we were kids. We used to go up to, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, there was a place called the Villa Capri in the 60s, and we used to go there at night, and we used to go up on the hill and drag race on the street. Don't tell anybody. But we started there. I mean, guys used to tow cars in, like a 40 Chevy with a Buick in, a Henry J with a blown Hemi in it. I mean, tow them in on trailers, and we'd go up there and race on the track. There was a quarter mile, and we had spotters on both ends so the cops didn't come around. And Timmy shows up, and I met Timmy through a gentleman that I met, Raymond Lebowski. He was like a brother to me. He used to drive a 56 Plymouth that we used to call taxi. It looked like a taxi cab, but it had some kind of Chrysler Hemi engine in it. And Timmy and him were friends. And Timmy used to work in a machine shop, and he used to take, for his toolbox, well, actually his lunchbox, would have pistons in there, so because he worked the night shift, and he'd get his work done, he'd be machining pistons and doing parts for people. So that's how I got to know him, because I was racing, and I needed some pistons done for a supercharged gas car, and so he was helping me out, and he was helping a lot of people, and then he started racing himself with he got a Chrysler Wedge, and then he had Hemi cars, and he ran a Superbird car, and he was really the class of the field. We're learning all about Hemis and Wedges, motors. So we started an after workshop building motors for people and doing machining. And he actually did the neutral start. Back in those days, Chrysler, the torque flight transmission, he invented you'd rev the motor up and hit the button and it would, boom, jump off the line. And he actually patented that or figured out how to do it. And Chrysler actually hired him to teach them. And they had some of their racers running around the country doing the neutral start that Timmy did. So he really was an innovator. And I was racing supercharged gas. I had a 40 Chevy that was bigger than everybody's Opel, and I wasn't having much success. So I called him one day. I said, Tim, why don't we do something together? You can be the crew chief. So we go down to Walt Weenie's, and we asked Walt, what kind of car should we build? He said, why don't you build an alcohol funny car? Actually, it was an A funny car at the time, injected. And he said, you can go match race and go on the circuit and You can make some money match racing during the week, and you can run some points meets and stuff like that. So we decided to build a funny car, and we got it out. And the very first race we go to get my license in Reading at Maple Grove, we have the car, and we warm it up. We go up the starting line. We go to start the car, and the neutral on the hydraulic, the clutch wasn't set right. I had it on the stop, but somehow we didn't have it adjusted right. The car starts, the car jumps, and I run over Tim Richards. Now, so first start in the car, and Lex Dudas, who was to be the announcer then, he said, "Where's this kid going?" He said, "You know, he's nothing worth the hill of beans." So Timmy goes to the hospital, he gets his stitches in his hitch in, and comes back. I said, "Tim, I'm sorry. Well, it wasn't your fault. It was the clutch stop." So we go out the next day, and we did get a license. And so after that happened, when we won our first world championship, I used to always tell Lex, "Not bad." God bless Lex. Lex was a good guy. He was around there all our sport, and we grew up with him. And Maple Grove was one of our home tracks, and the other one was Englishtown. But we used to go down to Englishtown on Wednesday night and run match races, and they'd be having with Smoker Smith's circuit, and they'd run the quick two, come back. You'd make 2 rounds, and the fast two come back for extra money. They'd be blowing up on the starting line, Benny the Bomb. I mean, it was a crazy time in those days. And we used to race down south in the 8-mile tracks, on these outlaw tracks that you're thinking, what are you, crazy? The people are standing on the sidelines. There's no guardrails. You know, I remember there was a guy named Leroy Worley. They blew the body off the car in the run before that, and they put it back on. They had it super taped, the whole body on the car down, no escape hatches in them days, and we're out racing Leroy Worley. So we're on this little crazy track, and we got close together, and we kind of touched because the track was only 5 feet wide. And we get to the end, and I beat him. And he said he was mad at me because I beat him. I said, well, you know, that's racing, you know. And so we had some great experiences. We used to ride around the country doing the match racing, and I used to have a full-time job. So I always went back to work, and Tim took care of the car. We had a little shop in the bottom. Ray Lebowski actually built my first garage for me when he first started working. He used to work in a meat cooler, and he started doing construction on the side. He ended up building all my stores and my warehouse and my house and everything. But the first thing, he put an engine beam in the garage, and I went down and looked. I said, but it didn't go all the way across on the cinder block. It was about that much on the cinder block. And I said, and he said, well, that beam was really cheap price, so it'll work. Don't worry about it. but I mean, I'm thinking it's going to put an engine on and it's going to fall down. But Ray and Timmy and myself, we used to ride around the country in our dually pickup truck with the sleeper, and we always got back to go to work because all of us had real jobs. And we'd be playing liar's poker, riding around the country, going to the tour, and we'd take turns driving, and who would play liar's poker. Then we'd wear them dollar bills out. We'd stop at a gas station and give me 20 more fresh ones. So they used to accuse me of cheating. I used to go to my auto parts store and get the best ones with the most dollars on it. Everybody knows what liar's poker is, but you count, I have 3 threes or 4 threes. But we had a great run together, and then we got through the alcohol phase, and we did good, and we said, well, let's go top fuel racing. So that was 82. So go back to Walt Weenie's, and we said we want to build a top fuel car. So we built our first top fuel car, and Timmy took the top fuel like he did alcohol. You know, and you back up a little bit, when we were racing alcohol, he was really a big factor in other people's career. That's one thing about him. He was very helpful to other people. I mean, Bill Walsh, when I got out of alcohol, Bill Walsh just got into alcohol, and he won a couple championships through Tim's guidance. Frank Manzo was another guy that Tim Richards helped. He used to, when I was racing a funny car, he was racing funny car, and Timmy used to come over all the time, and Timmy helped him. So and then Manzo got really smart, and he's still smart now, helping a lot of people all around the country. He's retired, but he's the winningest alcohol funny car guy, and I think really that Timmy Richards helped him be where he is today. Another guy that we became friends with was Bruce Larson. He started hanging around, because I used to sell the Century Tax and Gauges, his line of product that he was sponsored by through my Keystone Automotive, and we became friends with Bruce and his crew chief, Maynard Inkst, and Timmy helped him, and we actually won a couple races together, doubled down, and he helped Bruce with Maynard's assistance on the car, he won a championship too. So he's been instrumental in doing a lot of things for a lot of people. He won me 4.5 championships. You can't say enough about someone who was so smart. I always called him the general because he's so organized. I was teasing him tonight about the yellow tablets. He used to have these big yellow tablets, and we'd start the winter time when we'd get crew guys, and he'd write down a whole 1 or 2 pages, here's your job, and he'd teach the guy his job. He did that every crew member, and they had instructions kit of what to do. And he still, to this day, he said he still has yellow tablets and writes things down. But you just, you get the habits and you learn people. And he always used to be hard on me as a driver, even though I was paying the bill with the sponsor, because he put the pressure on me, but he made me a better driver. And I know he's done that with the other people that he's been around. And he just makes you step up and do what you have to do. And that was how I was able to be successful. And, you know, just like everybody knows, you only surround yourself with good people, and they make you look good. So I'm always looking to get people smarter than me, and I put them in charge. My favorite saying in life is, when I leave people, you're in charge. Because then they have to go and do it, and you come back and try and hold them accountable. That's one thing with people. If you check on them and make them accountable, they will definitely perform a lot better. But it's so nice to see some of the youth and what NHRA is doing with the team separations. Some of the super teams are gone away a little, and we're getting a variety of young people like Justin. He was speaking before. He's a fine young man. He won a race this year. Mr. Prock over there, his son in Austin, is like, them are the kids that are the future of this sport. So I hope NHRA promotes them to make them Don Garlits of the future, and that'll help the sport perpetuate itself. But Tim wants to come up. I know he's got a big speech ready, and he said, "Don't talk too long. Save me some time." But you know, Tim's quite a guy, and I guess one mistake I made in life is when we separated, and probably if we had stayed together longer, we might have both won more. But he went on to help Bernstein win, and Connie, and he was the first guy with a funny car to go on the fours with Chuck Etchell. So he's done a lot of stuff in motorsports, and he's definitely the right person to be in this class. Thank you. And I present you Tim Richards, a.k.a. the General.
Let's see if I can live up to some of that stuff you've been hearing here. I don't know. I'm not sure. And Joel took so much time, I may have to get down to like 2 minutes from now. There's a lot of people that meant a lot to how we were able to, run pretty good most of the time. And I've always felt like they need the credit, and somebody has to say it, because without them, I wouldn't have learned a thing. When I first got into it, I didn't really know a lot about what I was supposed to do. And later I thought that if this data recorder didn't come around when it did, I would have been 6 years down the road trying to figure out what everybody knew before me. I wouldn't have known. The data recorder definitely made you learn a lot quicker. It made the sport safer, but it allowed me to learn much quicker than I normally would have. I would like to say some of the people that really I learned a lot from. They were people that built cars for us and the whole 9 yards, but I learned an awful lot from all of them. Like Al Swindle, chassis, Murph McKinney, Sid Waterman. I don't even know how to start this car when I first got it. I called him and talked to him for quite a while, and he agreed to help us, get going, and he did. And it went on for 25 years after that I used to rely on calling him, you know, and asking him questions about this or that. And he's still a friend today, and I still talk to him quite often. And he was very instrumental in getting us off on the right foot when we got into fuel. Bob Brooks, AFT. Frank Karstensen. The guy was a genius on the clutch. And we learned an awful lot from him, like how this clutch works, disc whir, the whole 9 yards. Eldon Rasmussen. Maybe a lot of people don't know the name. He was an IndyCar driver. He was a fabricator. He was the one that came up with the idea for the back wing and where it should be on the car, and the fact that we could lose a lot of drag and still maintain our downforce by repositioning this wing. And he was the guy that really, it was his deal. We carried it out, we believed in him, and that turned out to be a huge thing for us. Mike Majera, he was our wing guy. We went in the wind tunnel about 3 or 4 times with Joe's car up in Canada. He learned an awful lot. We learned an awful lot about how these two-stage wings were working, and you know what was what on the car. Dave Leahy, Electromotion. Ron Armstrong, Raceback. There couldn't have been a nicer person to deal with, and guy that would teach you really all the things you needed to know about what that computer was telling you. Alan Johnson Performance. As far as I was concerned, it was the best thing you could buy, and I still believe in that. Jerry Corman, SSI. That was a big move when they came out. Keith Black, Wes Cerny. In our early days, that was a very, very valuable person that I met, and we always talked about things. That pretty much covers that subject. But I would like to talk about some of the crew people I had, and some of the many good people that were long-timers. Wayne Cannon, 13 years. Jeff Rogers, 10 years. Jimmy Walsh, 9 years. Chris Thornton, 12 years. Mike Damagala, 12 years. Glenn Hazar, 10 years. Tony Snyder, 5 years. Zeke Thompson, 8 years. Tim Jackson, 8 years. Ray Lebowski, he was my best friend for 60 years. He's the guy that Joe and I relied on. Joe, he built all the buildings for Joe. He was the guy that went to the races with me starting in 1963, and he continued on probably till 1975 with us with the Joe's car. But he was a wonderful person. Terry Snyder, he worked at CAPS, and he was a great help when I went over there on the funny car deal, because funny cars I had not been near for quite a while. Nobody had a bigger impact on my life than Joe Amato. It started in 1972 and ended in 1992. We raced in Top Fuel for 10 years. He was the person who paid for my racing education, because there's an awful lot of things you do that really aren't the right thing, and they cost money. But he paid for that education and the long career I had after I was done working for him, and I owe him forever. I mean, my whole career was based on what I learned in the beginning. Chuck Etchels, 10 wins with him. Funny cars, you know, just Gainesville, 93 was our first race. It was the first race working with Kim. First time on a funny car, quite a challenge. The budget said to me, you better take care of the parts, because he did it on a real budget that was very tough to do. We worked for him for 6 years total. He was easy to work for and always respectful. To all, and could drive the wheels off the car, but not all the time. Connie Coletta. I've always said that I believe that everybody should have the chance to race with Connie Coletta, even if just a while. It's a guy that just loved drag racing and continues that way. I mean, he just loved the race, and it was fun to race with them. I'd say probably the biggest thrill of my life was being able to win the U.S. Nationals with Connie Coletta driving. He had never won it and raced in it for 20, 25 years. He had never won the race, and we were lucky enough to be there running his car when he did win it, and it was wonderful. Kenny Bernstein. 16 wins in 2.5 seasons of driving the car. 33 wins total as an owner for 8 years. He was a surprisingly, really good person to work for. He supported me, gave me the leeway to do whatever I thought. In other words, I got what I wanted. In return, what he wanted was a race car that he could win with. He wanted something that was competitive, and that's what we tried to do, is give it to him. As a driver, of winning. He was that good of a driver when he got up in those years. He was really good. He was a weapon, really, because you didn't feel like you had to outrun the car in the other lane. He would always be able to give you something. I wish we had more time together. He was that good. Brandon, he had 17 wins in 5.5 seasons. He started out really good, and we had an accident, and he was out for a while, and Kenny came back and drove the rest of that year. But he still won 17 races. I mean, it was like pretty good. Probably could have won more, but I was starting to run out of gas myself. So it was better that I decide to, like, that's enough and stop, which we did. Came back in 2011, ran Ron Capps' car. The first race was Atlanta. We won 2 races. We were in the final 5 times that year. I thought it was pretty good, you know, because these funny cars are they're like a different animal. And he's another great driver. Deserves the success he's now having and will have in the future. He's just a good driver. I would like to say this about funny cars, though. I believe they should get 50% extra when they win any race to put up with that body. It's just such a pain in the butt. It's something, I don't know. Okay, some of you might think I forgot to mention my partner in all things. No, we started together in '93 at Gainesville and stopped in 2011. She basically took care of the clutch, the drivetrain, the rear ends, all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't her biggest job. The biggest job was to make sure the crew, the jobs that the crew did and that were supposed to get done, did properly. And she knew how to do them all. she was basically, she was the crew chief. She really was. My job was to try to make the car competitive, and that's what I had to work on. I would like to say my total wins when I worked for Joe were 31 races. Now, 31 happened with Joe Amato. That leaves 48 wins with Kim. I don't think I get anywhere near this honor without her work on this job. Her dad taught her well. In closing, I would like to thank the selection board for their vote. I also want to thank Wally Parks for creating a safe place to drag race for 45 years. It's just hard to believe anybody would pay you to do it. That's what I thought. And Don Garlits for creating the International Hall of Fame. And it is truly my honor to be in it. Thank you.
The party here at the Hilton has not yet started because we haven't heard from inductee Rick Stewart, which will be coming up next. But first, table sponsors, National Parts Depot, 18 years. Thank you so much. And of course, SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, 16 years since 2006. We appreciate you. And big thanks to the folks right here at the Hilton in Gainesville. Such a lavish establishment. So many people right here staying for the Gator Nationals. We really appreciate you. Thank you to the Hilton and everybody, all the staff. Thank you, Hilton. We appreciate you. More to come from the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Topless cheap fun in less than 2 minutes with Top Lift Pros. No other hardtop removal tool on the market is as reliable, simple, or safe to use to remove your Jeep or Bronco 6th Gen hardtop as Top Lift Pros. Single operator, no hassle, and no loss of floor space in your carport or garage. Live outside the box with Top Lift Pros, the ultimate hardtop removal and storage solution.
Welcome back. I've got a funny story I've got to relate to the crowd. My wife's probably not going to be happy, but this is a funny story. You see this trophy? Well, I have one home in my trophy case in my house in Florida, but it's missing the signs up here. About 5 or 10 years ago, the kids were in school and they had a show and tell. So she's going to take the trophy into school and do a show and tell with our son about Joe Amato, the drag racer. So she's carrying the trophy to school, but she has high heels on. And she's walking down, you have to park the car and walk, and she's walking and she sticks her high heel into a crack and falls over. Next thing, she's in the bushes, upside down, with my trophy. Now, a friend of ours was there. He offered to carry the trophy in, but she turned him down. So she's with Steve Nichols, I think it was, going to school, and that's Jack's son. But so now I got a trophy like this, but she brings it back home. It doesn't have these on it anymore. I said, what happened to my trophy? She said, no, it's a victory sign. So it's not peace anymore, it's what we won. So my trophy is different than this one. But so she's probably mad at me, but that was a good story. Thank you.
Joe, yes, things are starting to go off the rails a little bit, just like we like it. Want to remind everybody, after it's all over, head over to the Hanover Room, and there are T-shirts available as well. You're going to love them. They are amazing. And after this thing is all over, the live broadcast, we're going to do a live auction. We've got Garlits versus Muldowney. Toolbox is amazing, and a wonderful one-of-a-kind piece of artwork that we are going to raffle off, or auction off, after it's all over. And hey, Force, thank you for showing up. Ladies and gentlemen, John Force in the house as well. Thank you, John. Just got off a plane just now, came straight here. Amazing stuff. Really appreciate it. All right, it is time for our next inductee. Let's hear from Big Daddy.
Rick Stewart. Now there's a name will recognize immediately because he was the starter for many years at NHRA, and he's the guy that took Buster Couch's place. A little difference about Rick over Buster was Buster was a mean, tough guy, and he would knock your head off if you didn't do right on the starting line. Rick wasn't like that. He was a nice, easygoing guy, and he had this straw hat that he always wore, and he got so famous that NHRA made those hats and put them in the concession and sold many of them. A little unknown fact about Rick is he drove these cars just like this in the beginning. This is how he got his start. And he was a really good driver. Now why he quit driving fuel dragsters, I'll never know. But I guess the NHRA offered him a nice little piece to be a starter because, let me tell you, that's a tough job. It's a dangerous job. You're out there in all that noise and all that heat, all that sun, and I'll tell you what, I take my hat off to him. So welcome Rick Stewart into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Here to induct Rick Stewart into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, a man who spent 48 years of his life working for the NHRA, Mr. Steve Gibbs. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Joe. Well, thank you, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come back to this ceremony and back to Gainesville, which was always my favorite stop on the tour since the first time in 1970. Who in the room was at the first Gator Nationals? Well, not too many. But it was a great start, great event, and I wish them well. I'd like to congratulate all of the honorees tonight and the past recipients, and to spend a couple of minutes here to pay tribute to another member to be inducted tonight, Rick Stewart. It's been my pleasure to know Rick for well over 50 years in a few different capacities, and he is a truly deserving recipient of this honor. I'm going to go back a little in reverse as far as Rick's career, and Big Daddy touched on it a little bit in the video there, but a lot of people in the room, they're going to remember Rick primarily as the Chief Starter for NHRA for 15 years. And he faced the impossible task of replacing Buster Couch. I mean, no one replaced Buster Couch. Rick just took over that job, and he did it well. That's a tough job, a lot of pressure, stand out there, all kinds of weather, making decisions. You know, a lot of times you're cruising along, but then when it really gets down and you got to make some tough decisions in the starting line, it takes a good man to do that. And Rick Stewart had that experience. Before he started the job as the starter, which I was pleased to be the guy that hired him for NHRA, and that Buster's suggestion, so he came with good marks, and he had done some starting at other events, but Rick by trade was an X-ray technician, and he grew up in Bakersfield, which was a hotbed of racing. Back, everybody's heard of the Smokers Race and those original wonderful events out in Bakersfield, and Rick was a terrific race car driver. He became known as the Iceman. There was a period of time when nicknames were really big for, you know, Snake, Mongoose, Jungle. We've all heard the nicknames. Well, he became the Iceman, and it was because of just his cool demeanor, and he was a plenty cool driver. He was good. And how many people have seen a movie called 7 Second Love Affair? Not too many. Do yourself a favor. If you can find that movie, and it's probably on YouTube, or available probably on Amazon. It's called 7 Second Love Affair. And it was a feature-length documentary. It wasn't just a movie about Rick. It was an actual documentary that was filmed while he was racing. And this was in the mid-'60s. And he was fortunate to team up with an engine genius named Gene Adams, who's also a member of this Hall of Fame. And they raced together for several years, ran 4 different cars. In 1 year alone, Rick Stewart won 16 top eliminator events in one single year. There was a lot of activity in those years, but he won 16 top fuel eliminator events with Gene Adams. They raced 4 different cars, and at one point, he simultaneously held the ET record in both top fuel and top gas. So I made a lot of activity for a fellow there. He experienced one of the more bizarre accidents that ended his career. A picture was on the screen a little while ago of a red car that Rick drove, belonged to Bill Crosley. They were racing at Bakersfield on a tire test. The way that car was constructed, and it started to age a little bit, the seat and the parachute and the safety harness were all mounted to the uprights that went below the roll cage. And he had one of these large ring slot parachutes, we call them, very large chute. Well, if that thing opened suddenly, it put a lot of pressure on it. Well, he was making a good run, the parachute opened, the wells broke, and it sucked Rick out of the back of the car at 220 miles an hour. Left him on the middle of the racetrack, and the race car proceeded off to the end of the racetrack. That was the end of his racing career. He spent some time off. He got in track management. He went on to do his job as an X-ray technician. But when Buster retired, Rick was a steward. You know, he was the choice. It was a good choice. And he put in 15 years out there on that starting line. And it's unfortunate he couldn't be with us tonight. Rick's retired. He's in Texas. His family has prepared a video for his acceptance. So on behalf of Rick, his family, I'd like to welcome into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, Rick Stewart.
Hi everyone, this is Ricky Stewart. This is my son Jay Stewart. We're here to accept Rick Stewart, my father's induction award into the Drag Racing Hall of Fame on his behalf. We're sorry we can't be there this evening, but we're all watching the broadcast online as a family with Rick. Rick's doing okay. We're making sure he gets everything he needs. He's as comfortable as possible. The family makes sure that he stays caught up with drag racing current events. And at his request, we record every episode, or what seems to be every episode, of Wheel of Fortune. So he lives a really simple life, but that's okay. We're happy to spend time with him and continue to take care of him and make sure that he's doing okay. Drag racing has always been a way for me to connect with my father. When we lived on the West Coast, Dad would work long hours at the hospital as the director of radiology at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital. Then he would go work during the week with the Wilson team out there at Mesa Marin in Bakersfield, and then would work on the weekends as the division starter, and then occasionally would work at national events as the backup starter to Mr. Buster Couch. I remember all those moments, and I miss them. When we moved to Texas, we're able to spend a lot more time together. He was then the chief starter for NHRA, and I was able to travel with him a lot more. Something I really needed. I really needed to be around, and he was able to spend a lot of time with me, and I'm thankful for those moments.
I love my papa. My papa's the best papa of the history of papas. At the time, I really didn't know who my papa was, so I asked Dad to show me a documentary or a movie about Papa. So when Dad showed me, I knew that Papa was a drag racer. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really love my Papa, and I appreciate you for letting my Papa be in the Hall of Fame.
We appreciate everyone thinking about my dad and giving us another opportunity to celebrate Mr. Stewart, Rick the Iceman Stewart accomplishments, and be together with him. It's something we really appreciate, everyone thinking about him and the Stewart family. Enjoy your evening. Thank you again.
And that is Ricky Stewart Jr. and his son Jay, Rick Stewart's grandson Jay. What a cute kid. More to come. The 2022 International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony continues with the Pat Garlits Award winner, Pat Balti, just moments from now. But first, thank you, table sponsors. You guys are the backbone of this event. Greg Sharp, thank you, Greg. 2017, you first started to sponsor, and you haven't missed a year yet. Thank you so much. Ron Hope, you as well. 2018, we appreciate you. It's been 4 years, and thank you. And, of course, Stewart Cycles since 2015. Thank you, Stewart Cycles. You guys always a rowdy bunch, and we appreciate you. We'll be back with more from the Hilton in Gainesville, Florida, the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Mobile Environmental Solutions is the leading provider of mobile paint booths manufactured in the U.S. with its exclusive airflow system and 360 degrees of natural lighting. With a booth size to fit the needs of any industry in just minutes, it's an honor for our booths to be used by the United States Armed Forces, U.S. manufacturing facilities, used car reconditioning centers, and more. Mobile Environmental Solutions, the leading portable mobile paint booth.
We're back out here in the crowd, and look who I found. Just off the plane, straight here. How'd it go? John Forrest, the GOAT. What's up, John?
Truck driver. That's how I'm dressed.
I can tell you just got your life vest here.
I'm here with all my heroes that I love, and it's pretty awesome. Got a young kid here going to replace me any minute, and any minute he's going to replace me. I could fall over dead at my age. I'm older than everybody in the room, but
except for Garlits and a whole bunch of them that are still kicking.
Garlits and Shirley, they got the magic. You know, I look over here at Scotty Cannon. You know, 100 years ago, he stood there and told me, I'm going to kick your ass. And because he was pissed off at me, I said, what's wrong with you? And he said, I'm going to kick your ass. And I said, yeah, you might kick my ass now because you're a Hulk. He looks like that Hagen kid, right? And then he said, and you know what I told him? First round, I'm going to kick your ass. First round, he kicked my ass. But you know what? I'm here with people that I love. And Shirley Muldowney, I love her. She's mad at me. I did some crazy shit, but I don't do shit. My team runs my deal. So I love you, Shirley. And Garlits, you got to love Garlits. He's a badass. He's 100 years old, and I'm 100 years old too. But damn, he looks better than me.
He does.
That pisses me off. And then you look at, I tried to hire Dick LaHaye, and Coyle come to me, why'd you try to hire Dick LaHaye? I said, well, first of all, he turned me down. And he goes, well, I'm your lead guy. I said, yeah, but I really wanted Kim because she does the clutch. And she was badass. She was, because she learned from her daddy, Dick LaHaye. So there's so many people here, and I love them. And I look like a truck driver, but I am a truck driver. I've been up there in Canada moving toward D.C., you know, but I'm back here now, and basically, Bobby Bennett, you don't write this shit. I talk the real shit here.
Hey, just so you know, we're streaming this out there on the World Wide Web.
Hey, I'm in the middle of Ukraine, and it's got my head all screwed up.
Me too.
For the people, the pain. But in the middle of this, Wally Parks created it. Steve Gibbs found me at Pomona back in the 70s, crawling over to the fence trying to get in free. I love you, Steve Gibbs, for not busting my butt. But this is my family in this room. And I showed up here looking like a truck driver because you know the real I am a truck driver. And that's where I came from. And I want to be here with these people and all the stars and be just, can I shut up now?
Yes. John Force, and this guy is Austin Brock. Austin, you want to add anything to that?
I don't know if I can top that.
I don't think so.
But it's great being here. Tim Richards, he was one of my dad's mentors, someone he looked up to, and it's great to be here for his induction. But it's really cool just to be around all these great people, you know, a whole bunch of racers that you see every weekend or legends of the sport. And you get to be around them and just, you know, cut bread. So happy to be here, and it's been a great night.
See, the kid didn't say the S word at all.
Wait. Is this kid just a shits? He is replacing me, and he said, when do you think I'll take over? I said, well, about 10 minutes. My heart's going to quit. But this Proc kid, his mom brings me oranges. Jimmy Proc, I'm on the plane with Robert Height today, and Robert Height says, John Forrest. I said, what? He goes, are you going to get in the game? And I said, you took me out the last 2 races, you little dick. Okay, but, okay, I'm swearing I shouldn't do that. Okay.
That's okay.
I love your show.
Thank you very much. All right.
Not that you ever have me on it.
No, well.
You always have, but, wait a minute. I got to tell you this.
This is going sideways.
I love this room. I love the room of people that talk about people they love. We're looking at cars up there, and Brock goes, wow, that's really an old car. I said, I lived that era, and I love this sport. I love Wally Parks. I love what NHRA is doing. We're trying to grow it, and we will survive. The electric motor will not take over.
Amen. Amen. John Force, final thought, final thought, final thought.
But I want to say this. Brock is my future. Robert Height, my daughter Brittany. I'm an old piece of don't care. But I love this room because where you all come from, no matter how old you are, I'm older than all of you assholes. Okay? And I love it. Thank you for letting me be here. Don Garlits, you are my hero. Perdome, McEwen, Raymond Beadle, Jungle Jim, but Shirley, we should have dated when I was younger. Okay? Because
she's nodding yes.
She's mad at me, but I know, but I don't control everything. But I love you, Shirley.
There it is. Final thought. Thank you. John Force, everybody. John Force. John, we're going to do Garlits versus Muldowney a little bit later. We've just got a couple more to go, folks. It is time to hear from Big Daddy as we come down the home stretch.
The Pat Garlits Award. What can I say about this little lady? It would fill volumes. She was one of the sweetest wives. She passed in 2014. We were married 61 years. Even though she did drive this super stock to a lot of wins, and she loved it, but after a while she said, Big Daddy, one racer in the family is enough. So every year we give out an award to some lady that we think has made an outstanding contribution to drag racing. We call it the Pat Garlits Award. And this year it goes to Pat Baldus. What a sweet lady. Married to Jerry Baldus, supported him all those years of his racing, and then supports him through all the support that he gives to the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. They've sponsored the trophies since its very inception, and we appreciate that. So this year, 2022, Pat Balti gets the Pat Garlits Award for the outstanding accomplishment for a lady in drag racing.
Absolutely amazing. Pat Balti is going to get the Pat Garlits Award, and here to make that induction, please a warm round of applause for Miss Judy Bear. Come on up, Judy. Thank you so much.
Wow, John, that was a tough act to follow, if I may say so. But this evening I've been asked to present Pat Balti, who is receiving the Pat Garlits Award. Her interest in drag racing began as a young teenager. Her history throughout the years is written in the program, and I hope you had an opportunity to read it. Pat has always made each and every one she meets feel welcome and make certain that they have what they need for the task at hand. She and her husband, Jerry, have owned their own business, built their house, and have attended many, many racing events together, and she's always been Jerry's right-hand person. I met Pat back in 2012 when she was assisting our dear friend Eileen Daniels, who, as most of you may know by now, is with her husband Bob, watching over each and every one of us at the NHRA events, being certain we are safe and having a good time. At this time, I would like to say congratulations to Pat from the staff of the current Hot Rod Junction, who she and Jerry have assisted and known for a long time. Also, congratulations from all of the S&S Racing family, whom they are a part of. Last but not least, congratulations from the Fun Bunch. And now I would like to present to you Mrs. Pat Balti.
Yeah, she's right. John's a tough act to follow. I don't know if I can do that. So, but I promise I will be brief, and I know people that know me aren't going to believe that. But I want to, first of all, thank all of my family and friends that showed up tonight to help me celebrate. Thank you. But when I was working with Eileen, I got a chance to really get to know a lot of the racers that I had just seen or read about or knew who they were. And I got to meet a lot of the wives. And Pat Garlits was one of those. And she was the most kind, gentle, gracious lady I've ever known. And for Don and the family to feel that I deserve an award with her name is very humbling. So thank you, Don. Thank you, Garlits family. I will try to live up to what that award means. Thank you.
Coming up, Founders Award winner, Don Smith. And thank you to our table sponsors like Masters Entertainment Group, who is making our live stream possible. The first ever live stream of the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And remember, folks, if you're out there on the World Wide Web, you're watching both in real time and in the future, you can reach out to the Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing and support the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Thank you, Masters Entertainment Group, for making it possible. And Breezio, for the second year, they have provided masks for anyone who chooses here at the Hall of Fame. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more after this.
Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products, keeping you in front of your field and performing at maximum potential. At Rod End Supply, we have the unique opportunity to be involved with auto racing, performance industries, and farm equipment. So whether it's a go-kart, micro, mini sprint, midget, modified, late model sprint, or a tractor, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products for you. Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them.
Topless cheap fun in less than 2 minutes with Top Lift Pros. No other hardtop removal tool on the market is as reliable, simple, or safe to use to remove your Jeep or Bronco 6th Gen hardtop as Top Lift Pros. Single operator, no hassle, and no loss of floor space in your carport or garage. Live outside the box with Top Lift Pros, the ultimate hardtop removal and storage solution.
All right, we've got first. Hey, Force, Big Daddy has a response. Garlits?
You know, John Force said something that really struck a nerve. It says, the electric motor will not take over. And that is so true. And I bet there's not too many people in this room know why. Because so much publicity has been given to the electric car and what all it's going to do. But does anybody that in this room that knows why the electric car cannot take over, raise your hand. Okay, here it is. If everybody has an electric car, we do not have the power grid to support it, and it will take 50 or 60 years to build that grid. Number two, they're not building any more power stations. For everybody to have an electric car, we'd have to have hundreds of more generating stations by oil, coal, and gas. And the greenies don't want that. So combustion engine is here to stay. I'm just having a fun deal because it's a deal that I can play with. I can do anything I want to with it. There are no rules, and I always like no rules, you know that, ask NHRA. And so it's kind of a different deal for me. It's something I can play with and keep me from getting old. That's what it's all about. And there's a few people that like it. And something else you people don't know is my father was an electrical engineer at Westinghouse. He was actually sent to night school for electrical engineering by George Westinghouse himself, because he was just a kid floor sweep and took to electricity. And he used to wet his finger and stick it in a light socket to see if it was the bulb or the circuit. And he had me do that one time, and I'll tell you what, I couldn't stand that. But anyway, there's just a little bit of electricity in my blood, and something I wanted to play with, and I'm having a hell of a good time with it, trust me. But the internal combustion engine is here to stay.
And they will open the bar later on, I think. I think that will be happening. All right, let's hear from Big Daddy as we announce the Founders Award for the International.
When you walk in this museum, the first car you see on your right is Swamp Rat 1. This is my favorite car. That's one of the famous questions, what's your favorite car? And this car got famous over a trip to California in 1959. Went out to California, was hired by a group of men out there to do 3 events. And the event up north was orchestrated by Don Smith. He was connected with the Champion Speed Shop. And Don Smith has been a real pioneer in drag racing. He has been so involved in everything. SEMA, the drag racing, the drag strips up north, the high performance industry. So welcome into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame for the Founders Award for 2022, Mr. Don Smith.
And now coming to the stage to induct Mr. Don Smith, Mr. John Toll. John, come on up. Thank you. Here he comes. Here he comes. Yes, yes, tough act to follow. Don't forget there will be a live auction at the conclusion. John, the stage is yours.
New rule. Make sure nobody has to follow John and Don.
That's your job. Take it away.
That's it. That's it. Wow, what a night. One more time for the 2022 Inductee Hall of Fame members. For the be with you tonight here to introduce the founder winner, Don Smith. But before I get started here, I had to know what the founder was, so I called Chuck. Chuck says, well, the founder is an individual who contributed to the success of the sport of drag racing. And I'll tell you, when you get done, Don Smith is your guy. Don was born in, first of all, I had 26 pages, but after that whole deal, I threw 25 of them away. Before I get started, Don Smith was born in San Francisco in 1933. He's a proud Sicilian. His mother was, and grandparents are from Sicily. In 1942, at the age of 9, he started working in the delivery newspaper, and he's never been without a job since. Not a lot of us can say that. He played semi-pro baseball for years and was offered a contract with the Brooklyn Dodgers to start as a rookie. Not bad. He also served in the Navy and received an honorable discharge. In 1952, he married Pat Ann Carlson. He has 3 granddaughters, 5 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. From 1958 to 63, Don was a partner in the Champion Speed Shop, and Don was also a partner in Half Moon Bay from 1958 to 68. In 1959, Don was one of the first to go 200 miles or 180 miles an hour in the Champion Speed Shop fuel dragster. In 1962, Don was one of the 3 Chevrolet-sponsored 409 Superstock cars. The other 2 were Hayden Profit in the Midwest and Don Nicholson in the East. That's not a bad group to draw to. In 1963, he became the owner of Champion Speed Shop until 1970. And in 1969 to 2003, Don was the owner of High Performance Distributors in Northern California. Don opened DCS Consulting and Exporting in 2004, and he still owns and works there every day. The next question is, has he got any other achievements? Well, of course he does. SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Market Association, he was a Person of the Year, Distributor of the Year, the Athena Woman's Person of the Year, the Ambassador Award, and to the best of my knowledge, no one else has won those 4 awards. Don's also been a member for 14 years of the Board of Directors for SEMA, and he's a SEMA Hall of Fame member. In addition, the Performance Warehouse Association, known as PWA, Don was a founder of that association for warehouse distributors. He's the director of Emeritus. He's been a Pioneer Award winner for that association, honorary award winner, and chairman of the board for 2 years. He stays pretty busy. NHRA, he received the Outstanding Contribution to the Sport of Drag Racing, and in Michigan, he received the Automotive Hall of Fame Performance Division Award. I'm sure you'll all agree that Don is dedicated to the automotive aftermarket, to his country, and to those around him. I've been fortunate to know Don for over 50 years. I'm sure you'll agree with me that Don is dedicated to doing all the right things to make this industry what it is today. Don is a legend, to say the least. So now it is my sincere honor to introduce the 2022 IHRA Founders Award recipient. Please welcome your friend and mine, Don Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, Don Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. And thank you, friends that have driven all these miles to attend the event here on my table. It's been a long haul. I think back to 1959 with Don Garlits, and I don't think there's anybody in the room that has known Don as long as I have, and promoted several events. I also want to thank the many friends that I've made over the years that are here. Joe Schubeck, his wife Gigi, head of the Peterson Museum, Joey Amato, and talking about John Force, I've nominated John Force 7 years in a row for the Seymour Hall of Fame. And I keep getting back my nomination form saying he's too young. So I'll once again nominate Force this year. But it's been a great ride. I've had some excellent people. John and the Parks family, they're right at the top of the list for helping me and my success along the way. And for all of you people, just remember, drag racing is a bitchin' industry. Thank you.
Our Founders Award winner, Mr. Don Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings this event to a close. Thank you so much, everyone in attendance. But before you go, we're going to sign off on the web, and then it's time for Garlits versus Muldowney one more time. If you're out there on the World Wide Web, thank you so much. If you're anywhere near Gainesville, come on out to the Amarillo Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals, or certainly watch on Fox or NHRA.tv. Thank you so much. Congratulations to our inductees, and we'll see you in 2023. Thank you, everyone. But don't go anywhere, because it is now time for Garlits versus Muldowney one more time. The live